let's start with the next session. And thank you very much for your feedback and questions. I really enjoyed talking to you about the previous topic in the break. And this next one will also be a little bit connected to it at some point. So I hope that you can get some more input about assessment as well as some other things in connection with gamification. And yes, this is my email address. I encouraged anybody during the break who asked me to, if you have any more questions or would like something, feel free to contact me. And I work here at Building R, so my office is 405 if somebody works here and would like to meet me in person. Yes. Okay, so what is gamification? You know, it's important to start with defining the basic terms, okay? So what are we talking about? And this is the definition that is most widely used, the use of game design elements in non-game contexts to reach different goals. So what is this? From this article that's on the bottom of the page, I copied this nice diagram. You know, I told you I'm a math teacher, so I love the coordinate system and the diagrams very, very much. What you can see here is that the x-axis, so the horizontal axis, goes from whole to the parts, and then the y-axis, the vertical axis, goes from playing to gaming. So what does it mean? It means that the difference between playing and gaming, we don't have this difference in Hungarian, I don't know about Chinese, but playing is just for itself, just for fun, and gaming is structured. It has its rules, it has a goal, it has an outcome, you do it for some reason, okay? So it's not just for the fun, just for the playfulness part, but it's more of an organized activity. So gamification is on the top right corner, so it is in the gaming part, so it is organized. It's not just to have fun, but it has its rules and goals to reach, we would like to reach different goals. And the whole and the part means that we are not talking about a whole game. So this is a very frequent misconception about gamification, that it means that we play a game. No, it doesn't. It's not a whole game, but it's just taking some parts, some game design elements, and then put it into the non-game context. Okay? So we will go through these three things, the game design elements, the non-game context, and the different goals. And start with the game design elements. When I was doing my dissertation, I collected like 80-something game design elements. So there is a lot of them, okay? Now, here are just a few, okay? And the QR code and this website, this link, goes to the same place. It is a learning apps task, and so I do two in one. On the one hand, you can learn about the game elements, and on the other hand, I show you what this learning app website looks like. So if you go to this link, either type in this t.ly/capital F V capital F H R, so this, or read in the QR code. It will lead you to the same site. Yep. Then you will arrive here, okay? And I will go back to the page, don't worry. I would like to say that there is a lot of things here, okay? You should match the game elements with their definitions, and if the match is correct, the pair will disappear, so you will have less and less things on your screen. And because it's a lot, what my piece of advice is that to organize the definitions, like the ones, for example, to the bottom, okay? And then the the game element things on the top, okay, so that they are not mixed. So you can like put these up here. And then if you connect the two and it's not correct, it will become red, and then you can take them apart, okay? So don't worry about it. You can take them up. Oops, no, thank you. Okay. So, and then you can match. So it's a matching activity, okay? So let's go back to the slide. So you can see this is the website, or the QR code leads to the same thing. Okay, and I'll give you about 5 minutes, okay, to solve this task, okay? And then we will do it together, so don't worry, it's not a test, it's just a fun activity to try how this website looks like, and a little bit of introduction about the game design elements. Okay, so either type in the site or use the QR code and play with it for 5 minutes, and then we will discuss it together. Feel free to finish in your time, but I also start doing it on the screen. You know, if we were in a high school with an interactive board, then students would love to run out to the screen and do the matching on the board, but now you can do it on your device, and I can, you know, just read out some of them here. So, for example, here we have that it's this: in many games, individuals cannot achieve the goals. They have to create teams because tasks can only be done together. Like one is a fighter, the other one is a healer. So this is going to be, you can shout in. Cooperation, yes, okay, let's see if, oops, see, I suffer with you with the, oops, it went to the back, yes, let's do it this way. Okay, it disappeared, so good. Right, the virtual representation of oneself. If certain items to decorate them can only be reached through successful gameplay, the player can display them as status. So what is the virtual representation of somebody? Yes, this is the avatar. Yes, very good. It fulfills the player's desire for surprises, new things. Hunting and finding the treasures and not knowing what it is adds to the excitement. This is the Easter egg. Very good. Okay. They display the results of the players. They help to compare players to themselves. For example, show a personal best, or other players, or an ideal goal, and display status. What is this display? Leaderboards, yes, I can hear it very well, okay. An artificial restriction that forces player to react or complete a task within a limit. It encourages the player to focus on the task. This is the countdown, very good, yes, or some kind of time pressure. Medallions received for a specific accomplishment, which can be unique, show an outstanding behavior, or just based on an aggregated number of activities. These are the badges. Very good. You're very good at this. Counters to keep track of how well a player is doing. They are received for certain activities. Reaching a given amount may result in rewards. What are these counters? The points, very good, okay. The position or rank of a person or a group. It is something that a player can acquire on the basis of merit. It can be earned or chosen. This is a status, yes, very good. It is based on the principle that because you possess something, you want to improve it, protect it, get more of it. A powerful game dynamic that creates loyalty. This is the ownership, very good. A journey of obstacles a player must overcome in order to achieve a goal or objective. It can be both individual or communal. That's a quest, right? You can have an individual quest or a group quest, very good. This refers to being unable to access something without meeting certain criteria. For example, there are minimum points that the player needs to score in order to access the next level. This is the element of Is the content unlocking. Yes, yes, because you cannot go on until you reach something, so it is in a locked state, and then when you do something, it becomes unlocked, and then you can go on. This is the content unlocking. And now it is a feedback element displaying how far a player is from reaching or achieving an end goal. It appeals to the player's sense of completion. This will be the progress bar. Yes, very good. Okay, they represent zones characterized through available interaction elements and difficulty. They become more and more different and difficult than the previous one. They are the levels, yes, they are, you know, more and more difficult, more and more different, and any account of connected events, a story which can add a theme to the experience and help player to immense better in an exercise will be the narrative. Great, okay, I hope you found your solutions as well, and the reason why I wanted you to try this out, because it's a very good app, the Learning Apps, and just a quick learningapps.com. So you have a template, and the one which I used is the matching pass, but you can group things, you can put things on a number line, order them, write in text, matching things on images, multiple choice quiz, fill in the words, audio, video with notices. This is the Who Wants to Be the Millionaire game theme. This is a very basic form of it, but students love it very, very much. Group puzzle, crossword, word grid. This is the guess the word, the hangman, pairing, and so on. So this is a very good way, on the one hand, to make students practice things, and very quick, very short, very interactive, enjoyable, and sometimes I include them as that students create these kind of practice exercises for themselves or for the group, okay? And then, they can meet a competition or just practice with these activities in their free time, something that might engage them more than just solving, the exercises in the textbook. So, going back to the game elements. Yes, I don't know how to start. Okay, so this was the game elements, and we talked about that it is used in non-game contexts. I will be very quick with these, just to mention that there are lots of non-game contexts, okay? So these game elements are used in business, HR, professional development, healthcare. Oh, I wrote business twice. Okay, never mind. Customer service, politics, and of course education. I don't want to take a lot of time with bringing examples, but even just going to a shop and collecting there the points and looking at your progress bar and reaching a level and getting a bonus or a free something. So these are also basically ways of gamification, putting in game elements into completely different, otherwise non-game contexts. And of course, for different goals. And the question is always, what is the goal? If we are talking about, the shops, of course, the goal is to buy more stuff or go there more frequently. If we are talking about education, which is like more important for us in language teaching, what could be our goals, for example, of using these elements? And these are the ones that I have, again, collected from my research, for my PhD dissertation, from the teachers' interviews, that why they were interested in these and started using these game design elements. Of course, one of them is the motivation, the engagement of the students. The other is assessment, and we will come back to this again, that something that really supports students' learning. Learner autonomy, so that students could become more autonomous learners. Differentiation, being able to include individual learning paths for students. Developing different 21st century skills. And again, that could be a completely different presentation. What are these and how we can include them. Experiencing competence that I am able to do it, and developing students' self-knowledge. So these are all different goals that I collected from the teachers I interviewed, and we will have a discussion about this, how these goals can be achieved. So in the previous presentation, I skipped this first part, if you remember, this assessment based on gamification, and I said that we would come back to this, so now here we are. These are the different kinds of point collecting ways that my interviewees and I use as a solution for grading. One example, this is from the high school where I teach, and I wrote this to my students. So, dear students, you can collect points in 4 or 5 weeks, depending on the length of the topic that we are covering. At the end of this period, you get a grade based on your points in the following way. So I had to keep the 1 to 5 grading because it's compulsory, so I cannot skip that part. But what I can do is that if they collect under 70 points, they fail. If they collect between 7 and 900, not 70, 100, sorry, 7 and 900, grade 2, then grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, or above 2,000 points, the grade 5 with a little star, this is the extra that you are extraordinary, you did more than the maximum number of points that would be required. And within that period, they can collect points in different ways. We still have the final test, okay? So we are not skipping the achievement test, but it is also goes for points, which is 1,000 points. So it means that if we look at the 2,000, this final test is still half of the points, so it's a big amount. But they can collect points with this point collecting minis in the beginning of the lesson. If you remember, I mentioned these pop quizzes that goes for points. Okay, 2, 3 questions, some points. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. Homework, classwork, online task, and so on. Above the 2,000 points, you can collect Supermaster points. And for these Supermaster points, you can buy a yes-no question in a test, an extra day in a deadline, a 5-minute of chosen class activity. If you go up to the 1,600 points, you can get an extra grade 5. Or if you look at these 5 and 10,000 points, so this is something that students cannot really collect by themselves, but they can add it together as a group, okay? So like if more students come together and add their Supermaster points together, they can have an in-class activity for the class. It's a game class or ordering pizza. Once we had that in the high school, they didn't want to believe that it was happening. They were standing at the top of the stairs and really looking at that, is the pizza delivery guy really comes to the school bringing them pizza to the classroom? So it was a big thing for them. Or an out-of-class activity, going for ice cream or an excursion in the afternoon, and so on. So this is the main structure, basically the idea that with the activities, whatever you do, they collect points. And this is for 4 or 5 weeks. And the reason for that is because in the Hungarian schools, we have to give at least 3 grades in a semester. So this is how you get to the 3 grades. But I use the same system here at ELTE with my students for the whole semester. So they have a whole semester structured point collecting. They collect points with coming to class, because it's different from high school. It's not that compulsory. So if they show up, they get points for how they work in class, for doing homework, and depending on what I teach. For example, this mock exam practice that, like, you know, they act out the exam in front of each other. They get points. The bravery points, if they are willing to record their own performance and reflect on it. Giving presentations, you know, practicing on Quizlets or other things. So there are loads of opportunities. It's very individualized. And so what I would like you to talk again in your groups of 2, 3, what do you think? What kind of goals can be reached using this system? So what do you think about it? What is it good for? Okay, so just a 5-minute little discussion with the 2, 3 people around you. Thank you, it is working again, very nice. I can talk about this a lot because I have been using this for more than 10 years now in loads of different groups. So now I would like to open it a little bit up. Were there any questions that came up while you were talking about this? Is there anything that you are interested from my experience that I should tell? Because then I'm happy to answer that now, or we can go on. So are there anything that you would like me to share about this system from my experience? There will be a Q&A at the end as well, so is there any? Okay, think about it. If there is anything, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, really, I could talk about this for hours. So let's move on then, okay? So game design elements, okay? So one is collecting points, and there are loads of others. So I will give an example to all of those that were in these learning gaps matching activities, so just that you get an idea. So we had badges. This is from the Khan Academy badges. What I like about badges is that they are very, very customizable, okay? So you can give a badge for something that you would like to improve in your group, okay? So if, for example, being late is a problem, then you can design a badge that, you know, you came in on time for the last 5 lessons, okay? So it's like something that you would like to emphasize. But of course, there could be loads of examples. This is about, this is a math, I used it in math teaching. There are lots of different subjects on Khan Academy. Check it out if there is anything that you can use from there. Leaderboards, for example, this is one that I use to show students how many points they have collected. So the more points they collect, the higher their building becomes. And on the bottom, you can see the points. You can't read it, but these are not their real names, okay? So these are nicknames generated by the program. So I think it's important not to display everybody's results, because those who are at the bottom will always feel terrible, so it's not going to motivate them, okay? So I think it's very important to either show just the top, or use nicknames, or have different leaderboards for different things, so that one person can be good at one thing, and someone else can be good at another thing, okay? So I think that it's very important to use these kind of comparisons only when students are on the same level about something, okay? So if there are big differences, then it's better not to use them. I have colleagues that I have interviewed and they don't use any at all. And for example, here at my ALTA classes, I register their points in Canvas. And in Canvas, everybody sees only their own points. They don't see anybody else's, okay? So I'm not a big fan of leaderboards, just let me add this. But there are some cases when it can be a good idea. Another teacher uses group leaderboards. So they have like a clown in their groups, and then the different groups have their own leaderboards and not the individual students. We looked at the definition of content unlocking. Again, this is another Khan Academy example that you cannot go to the next practice part only if you have finished the previous one. So for example, in mathematics, the things are very much built upon each other. So it would be very good if you cannot go on unless you have, mastered the previous thing. And this cascading information theory means that the reason why video games work very, very well, one of the reasons, is that because they break down the knowledge into very small pieces that you can go through one by one. And if you are good, you can go through those steps quickly. If you're not that good, you can go through those steps slowly. But it is built upon each other one by one in a way that you can go through, might be with a different pace, but you are able to do this. So I think that content unlocking is a very good device in teaching, that somehow if we can incorporate this, then it would help our students to build up the knowledge. And levels are very much connected to it, because this shows that it becomes more and more complex, more and more difficult. You see where you are, and this is just an example from a game of the different names of levels. Quests, this is something we showed that it could be individual or communal. On the left, this is a picture from Classcraft. It's a gamified website where they have these kind of beautiful quests you can go on, and then you can put your practice exercises there. The students can have avatars and form clowns and loads of things. It's a very complex site. I haven't used it personally, but if you would like to see a very complex application of gamification in the classroom, then this is one that some of my colleagues have used. The narrative on the right, this is a running app, so it doesn't have to do anything with language teaching, but it illustrates the concept very well, how a narrative can motivate people. So in this running app, through your headphones, you listen to a story that zombies are chasing you after you have to run away from them. And, it can make a running exercise very exciting and much more fun than just, running because you have to do some kind of exercise. So you can, think of ideas how a narrative, how a story can immerse your students more into what you are doing, which maybe otherwise would not be that exciting. Progress bar, okay, sorry for the math examples, just I use that a lot in math teaching, but if you just think of a questionnaire that you have to fill in, and you don't have a progress bar, you don't know how many questions are left, when it is the end of it, how annoying that can be. So it helps a lot to see visually, this is where I would like to get to. This is how much I have left. Here you can see that on the right, the question number 1, 2, 3 are answered, question 5 is skipped, 4 is skipped, and we are at 5, and so on. And on the right, on the top right, there is the time left, how much time you have, where you are. So in connection with the time pressure or having a countdown, okay, how many of you have more of a negative association about that, a time pressure or countdown? Is it more of a negative thing? Yeah, okay, so what makes it negative is the stakes. So if the stakes are high, you will be stressed. However, it can be a very, very good tool in low stakes situation. So for example, in the beginning of the class, you would like to get your students focused. Okay, so you get 1 minute. Who can collect the most words from last lesson? Start. Countdown, 1 minute, done. Who collected how many words? Okay, very, very short, very quick. Get the students focused. It's no stakes, nothing bad will happen, okay? No punishment, nothing, okay? So this kind of countdown or time pressure things can be a very, very good tool if it's not an exam situation or something like that when you are, the stakes are very high and you are very stressed, okay? So I absolutely like this method in these kind of low stakes situation, getting your class together, who can do this or that in 1 minute, 2 minutes, quickly, focus your attention to something. Status, I love this example. It's created by one of my students who came up with different titles, names, that you can get if you achieve a certain grade in a certain topic. And then he created this for all the different mathematical topics from grade 9 to 12, everything. It's like a very, very big chart. For example, when we were learning about functions and you got a grade 5, became the X factor. Or if we were learning about triangles, quadrilaterals, polygons, if you got a 3, you became a trying triangle. Or for the algebra 2, algebra anarchist. The transformations and anxious axial. So students can be way more creative than, for example, I. And another story that is connected to this is that in 12th grade, so it was like the last grade of high school, we started the year and one of the students put the hands up and said, like, Miss, will we have these titles this year again? And I said, yes, of course. Why are you asking? He said that, can I be an admiral? Of course, all right. If you would like to become an admiral, you will be an admiral. And this guy worked very, very hard to get above the maximum number of points to reach the status of the admiral. So sometimes very strange things can motivate students. You never know. It's worth a try. Ownership. For example, in this one, each student is responsible for a number and they have to create a poster containing as many forms of that number as possible. So this is number 1 in Hungarian. This is a primary school example from one of my colleagues. But you can think of this that I am the owner of something, okay? I am responsible for that. I show off that. I have a much closer connection to that thing, you know, if I just have to do it in any other ways. So you can think of any language learning situation, like creating this poster. The point is to be the owner of something, of a title, of a task, of a position, and then be responsible for that. And this responsibility sometimes motivates students very much. We mentioned avatars. This is also from the Khan Academy website. What happens is that the more points you collect, you can basically develop your avatar. So you start off with like being a little drop, and then you become this dragon. And it was very funny that, again, I heard my students talking on the corridor, again, 12th graders, so 18 and 19-year-old boys, asking one the other that, hey, how do you have this dragon avatar in Khan Academy? I'm still in this drop state, so what did you do? And then the guy told him that, don't tell the teacher, but actually I'm doing the early math activities on Khan Academy to get points. So this 18-year-old guy was counting butterflies and early kindergarten math activities in order to boost up his points to become a dragon and have a dragon avatar. So it had nothing to do with my course. I didn't give him extra credit or points or a better grade for that. He only did this to get a dragon avatar. So again, very interesting things can sometimes motivate students. You never know. Sometimes getting a nice avatar and decorating your virtual representation can help. Some of my colleagues used it in the classroom, that you have a little physical avatar that represents you on the board and shows, you know, your status, and you can decorate it. Or other teachers did a portfolio that the students had, and then they could, you know, decorate the portfolio and have. So these are all very much connected to each other and can be very motivated. You know, I think you recognize the Easter egg from the definition. It can be any kind of surprise, any kind of little hidden things that students don't know and they have to find. And I do Easter eggs for myself. For example, asking students to write a joke or draw something into the test. So when I am correcting the test, there is a little cute picture for me, or a joke, or something like that. It's an Easter egg that I get from my students. So you can, turn it around and have Easter eggs for yourself, but it is very, very motivating for the students. You have this university joke, writing in the middle of your thesis, that if you have read this, I'll buy you a beer or something like that. And whether the reviewer will come for the beer or not, you can check whether they have read your thesis or not. I have never done this, so I don't know if it works, but this is kind of an Easter egg, as you will. Cooperation, again, it was easy to recognize from the definition that sometimes, that's the only way how you can solve it. For example, this text consists of 3 parts. Find who have the other 2 parts from your story. When you have found them, put together your story. It will contain 3 characters. Choose a character, and you will have to solve the common problems from that role. Okay, so this is, for example, a reading and group work exercise for 3 people. And the reason why I add cooperation versus collaboration, because cooperation means that you have different roles, and the task can only be done if everybody does their own part, okay? So it cannot be done by one person, because the different positions hold different roles and different parts, okay? And collaboration just means working together however you wish, okay? So sometimes that's good. So when I tell you to talk in groups of 3 or about, this is a collaboration, okay? You are just talking. But when you have a specific role, and only you can do it, and the task cannot be done unless everybody fulfills their own part in it, this is cooperation. Okay, so have you paid attention? Now comes the test. No, not a test, the Kahoot game. Okay, but really, we will play a Kahoot, on the one hand to try whether how this works, and on the other hand, fresh you up a little. There is not much left until the lunch, so this is the Kahoot website. It has the Kahoot music, very, very distinctive Kahoot music. I don't know, who has already played Kahoot in their lives? Okay, about half of the people, so then you know it. So how you should do it is that you go to the site kahoot.it, okay? Kahoot.it. You write in the game pin and then your name. You can do it in little groups, 2 or 3 as well, so if you don't have your own device, you can turn to somebody and do it together with others. You can change your avatar, so you can experience how does it feel like decorating your avatar, okay? I use it very frequently at my university classes as well. They love it. So this is how if I have a homework reading, for example, then in the beginning of the class, we start with a Kahoot to check if they have read the homework. If they have, they get points. This is one of the ways how they can collect points. If they haven't read, it's also a kind of summary, so we go through the reading. But if they did the homework, they collect points through the Kahoot. Just realized that I have never done a Kahoot with such a big group, so I'm not sure how many people can log in. So I hope it doesn't stop after a while. But it seems working. We have 23 people. Yeah? Does anybody else still trying to log in? Is trying to log in? Yeah? No? Have you got? So Kahoot.it, game pin, and then name. No? No? Put your hand up if I need to wait for you. Do I need to wait for you? No, that's just if I need to wait for you. If you still would like to log in. Who is still trying to log in? Is everybody who wanted be in? If you don't have a device, or you couldn't, just turn to somebody who has and then talk with that person. Do it together, okay? In a pair or in a group. It's okay? Can we start? Yeah? Okay. Oh, okay. Still people are coming in. Okay. Shall I wait more? I'll start with a question, true or false? I remember the definition of gamification. Do you? Okay, 28 people does, 5 people are very, very honest. Thank you for the honesty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so now let's see. This is also a leaderboard which always shows only the first 5 people. So that's also something that is good, because the first 5 can, see themselves, but not the rest. So it's not that bad. Okay, so let's then check what was this definition. Okay, so gamification is the use of educational games, or game design elements, or games, or playfulness. What does it use? Oh, okay, so it's quite dividing. Right, so the correct answer is the game design element, okay? So it doesn't have to be a full, educational game, right? That was the whole and the parts. So it's only the parts, it's only the elements. So if you just use a few elements, then it is also already counts as gamification. Woo, some changes in the leaderboard. So, gamification is the use of game design elements just for themselves, or to make learning more fun, or in a non-game context, or without rules. What was in the definition? Oh, okay. So yes, we would like to make learning more fun. That's true. But if we think about the definition from the beginning, what was important? That it is the non-game context where we use it. So it doesn't have to be education, or doesn't have to be learning. It can be any kind of non-game context, okay? Like business, HR, the shops, right? The shops doesn't want to make your learning more fun, okay? The shops just would like you to buy more stuff for them, okay, when they use gamification. So it is the use of game design elements in a non-game context. And there was one more part of the definition, the end of the definition, okay? So gamification is the use of game design elements in non-game context through simulations, through playing board games to reach different goals in order to educate students. So what was the general definition? Tricky questions, very tricky. The music is also more ominous. Okay, you got back to the definition. Yes, I couldn't trick that many people this time. Yes, we were talking about all the different kinds of goals that we would like to reach, or those who use gamification, okay? And it's not only the others can be as well, but in the definition in general, we would like to reach lots of different goals. Okay, very well done. So, on the one hand, we have fun, we play, but on the other hand, we revise the material, okay? So just for you, this is, sometimes put back your teacher's hat and think that, what is it good for? You can revise something that, for example, you see and you told and see if the students understood it. All right, so now we move on to the different game elements and see if you remember their definitions. So what is an artificial restriction that forces player to react or complete a task within a given limit? Is it a quest? Are they the points? Is it a countdown? Is it content unlocking? Okay, so this is the countdown, yes, okay, this is the artificial restriction. It forces the player to react and complete the task within a given time limit. I didn't add a time because then it would be too easy. All right. So let's see the next question, if it also wants us to see it. So any account of connected events, it can add the theme to the experience and help a player to immerse better in an exercise. Is it a progress bar, level, narrative, badges? Okay, this is the narrative, the account of some kind of events that are connected. You add the theme, like the zombies chasing you theme, and then it can help you to immerse more or better in some kind of exercise. Two more. The virtual representation of oneself. Sometimes it can be developed or decorated through a successful gameplay. Wow, don't help each other. Okay. Ownership, leaderboard, avatar, or Easter egg. And some people were already shouting in their answers. Well, we will see if it's correct. Maybe they are just misleading the others. Oh yes, okay, you couldn't mislead each other. It is the avatar, which is the virtual representation of somebody. And now we have one last question to decide the final order. So, being unable to access something without meeting certain criteria, for example, a minimum points needed to access the next level, is this badges, cooperation, status, or content unlocking? Yes, this is the content unlocking, when you cannot access something, for example, the next level, unless you reach the minimum number of points. So we get the podium here. Give a round of applause to group number 4 or person number 4. I cannot read that out. And who is the first one? Velma. All right, so now if you have experienced Kahoot before, you know how it works. For those who haven't, you can play again. You can view the results of the students. You can ask for feedback, for example. You can ask the players to give feedback on their phones. You can choose whether you want to show it or not. Some people are very not happy with it. You get a rating. You think about the learning outcomes, how they would recommend, how they feel, and so on. There are teamwork, there are different kinds of things that you can also do with it. I use it very frequently, even for revising or summarizing or checking if students have read whatever I wanted them to read. So there are lots of different versions that you can do. So, all right, almost lunchtime, okay? And now I find... This was a free version. You can totally... So there are, of course, with everything. Somebody asked me about the Mentimeter. So the Menti that we use, in the Mentimeter, the free version contains only 2 interactive slides, unfortunately. So after 2, you either open another one or get the paid version. In Kahoot, the true or false, or these 4 multiple choice types are free. So this is the free version. And if you pay, then you can have different question types as well that I haven't used. But what I am using now, I'm poor. So I am using only the free versions for everything. So whatever you see are the free versions here. Yes. So where is the one which doesn't start from the beginning? If I do this, will it do that? Space? No, it doesn't work. Which is that now I would like to learn something new today. So how do I not start from the beginning? Maybe I won't learn it today. Which was that? F5? Shift F5. So Shift F5 is the combination. I'm not promising that I will remember it, but at least now I know that it's the Shift F5 if you don't want to start from the beginning. All right, so a little bit of discussion, okay? So again, turn to the people around you, 2, 3 people. Which game design elements would you use and how, okay? So just a 5-minute brainstorming. You have the list here. Point collecting, badges, content unlocking. Okay, so come up with some ideas that which ones you like, which ones you would use in your practice that you think you can incorporate and how. Okay, a 5-minute discussion. Okay, thank you very much. So I hope that you gained some ideas from each other or from that you have come up with how you would use and which ones. And in the previous round, I also said that it would be a Q&A. So as I mentioned, that you can ask questions because I can talk about this a lot. But I don't want to bombard you with more information. So on the one hand, if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask me. And on the other hand, this link and the QR code leads to a Google form. So it will be an anonymous feedback just to me, okay? So like, it has, I think, 3 questions. How did you feel? What have you learned? What you would like to try out? And if you have any suggestions for me, how I can improve, what I should do better or differently, do more, do less, and so on. So this is a feedback form. And, you know, my experience is that if I don't leave time to fill in the feedback later, everybody will forget about it. So you can do it now. And you can also ask me questions, so we can do the 2 together. So if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer. One of the questions was during, and now it came to my mind, if you can get the slides. And you had my email address, but I can come back to the first slide with my email address. Send me an email, and I'm very happy to send it to you. The other question was very similar in connection with my dissertation. So I write about these in loads of detail. So if you are interested, I am happy to send my dissertation to you as well. If you don't, it's more than 300 pages long, so if you don't want to read it, another useful thing could be just the list of references, so lots of articles about the topic, other ways where you can read about these questions. So if you're interested in that, also send me an email, and I'm very happy to provide them to you. So please fill in the feedback form and ask me questions at the same time for the last few minutes that we have before the lunch. Like, what is, so the question is, I'm just repeating that, what is like the ratio of when I use anonymous questions and when I give points or rate grades or rate them? It very much depends on my aim. So what I would like to do, if it's like a diagnostics, I would like to get information, and it's not about the material, but it's more about, you know, me knowing where they are, what they know, you know, how they learn, whatever. So if it's, the goal is to gain information, then it's the anonymous, if I would like to change something. If the goal is for them to show what they have learned, where they are, so it has these kind of aspect, then and it counts into their grade, or I give points for, then they go points, then it is 4 points. This is one aspect, so my goal, my aim about it. The other aspect is what students need. So for example, it's another different area, the extrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So sometimes one of the criticism of gamification that this is an outside, extrinsic, you know, reward-based thing. And it has a danger of killing already existing intrinsic motivation. And this is actually true. Let me illustrate it with an example. In one of the interviews, a teacher said that his students were writing poems in English just for fun, you know, because they enjoyed it. And as soon as he started giving a grade 5 for that, it totally took away the motivation of the students. Because if you do it something that you already have the intrinsic drive, and then someone starts to give outside reward for it, it can kill the motivation. So, for this reason, in some of my groups, when they were very diligent, writing homework by themselves without any, you know, push, I don't give points for the homework. They do it already. Perfect. In another group where they are so unmotivated that they don't even raise the pen to start working on a task in the classroom, they get a point for grabbing the pen and start working on the classroom because this is where they need the motivation. So this is another thing where I need to step in, where I need to push the students. And if I don't need to push them because they are already doing something very nicely, then there is no need to introduce extrinsic, you know, I don't know, stickers or stamps or points or whatever, because they are already motivated. So I think that it's a good idea to get to know the group, and anonymous questionnaires are good for that too, but also you as a teacher can see where they need a little push and introduce the things there. And slowly, you can tell them, I like being very transparent with my students about it. So for example, if we start off that they get points by grabbing the pen and starting work on it in the beginning, great. But once they are doing that, okay, now we can move on to the next level. Now, it's not, you don't get the point only for starting it, you also have to finish it. Okay, and then, okay, we have reached that level, now you get the point only if you do it correctly. You don't get the point just for doing it, now you have to do it. So you can raise the level, raise the standard, and be transparent about it, that this is to show you that we are moving around, we are moving ahead, we are doing better and better. So this is also an advantage, that it is very, very customizable. You can decide how you do it based on your own goals. The disadvantage is it's very, very customizable. It's very individual. It's a lot of work to get to know the students, to know what they need, how to change it. So sometimes these point collecting systems, I had 7 groups and they worked in 7 different ways because the 7 different groups needed a little bit of different changes in them. So it's not something that you can just, you know, do it and then it will work, but you have to customize it to adapt to your students' needs and what that group or that student needs. Thank you for the question. I hope I could answer it. Yeah. Any other questions? We still have time. Yes. Microphone? Yeah? Okay. There.
Well, I have a question. As we know, there are audio learners, visual learners, and also kinesthetic learners. And I think these activities are very good for kinesthetic learners. And how do you keep the balance between, for example, audio and the visual learners? And you know, in a class, usually there are all different kinds of learners. I guess these are very interesting for kinesthetic learners. Whereas these might be actually not so interesting for audio. They are not very interested in such activities. Where, yeah, what do you think about that?
So actually, another advantage of this point collecting system I use that there are lots of free places to include how they can collect points with. So for example, I always have categories that students can fill for themselves. So for example, if somebody likes practicing words through flashcards or using the Quizlet set, then I give points for creating flashcards. And for example, if they practice using one method and they, sorry for bringing up the Quizlet, but I use that in my university classes, there you can generate a test for yourself. And then there you can listen and then type in. So this is, for example, one of the test types that you can do. And one of the ways how they can collect points is that they do that. So I think that it's a very, very good point, and thank you for bringing up, to balance this and not only have one type of activity, but try to include versions, options that students can choose from, that, okay, if this one doesn't work for you, you can also do it this way. If you like giving presentations, you can collect points with doing a presentation about this or that. If you hate, you know, standing in front of other people, I'm not going to force you, you can write an essay about this or that. So, like, having different options so that they can choose how they learn better. And I think this is a very big advantage if and not only point collecting, because even if you are grading, you can say that you get the grade for the presentation, you get the grade for the quiz test, you get the grade for the essay, and so on. So I think that it is a very important point. Thank you for bringing up to balance and use different styles that students can relate to, and not just falling onto the one that you prefer because it fits your teaching style. It's difficult not to do that, but thank you. Yes, absolutely do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Yana from Bulgaria. Thank you for the great lecture, and I think we will use Kahoot and the other games, that's for sure. I just wanted to ask you, when you prepare those games, especially in the beginning, is it not very much time you should spend on the preparation? Because it's really a matter of time for us, nothing else.
Yes, of course it is. So unfortunately, I can't really tell any magic trick here, because yes, doing them takes time. However, you can reuse a lot of things. So, my suggestion is always that don't transform everything, and start a whole system and do everything. Just start with one change, one activity, one game, one new thing, whenever you have time. And then maybe a little bit later, have another one. And slowly, over time, you can build up a very, very nice collection of both ideas, materials, games, whatever you use. It was, in the beginning, very difficult for me, so it took a lot of time, but fortunately, now I can say that I have been doing this for years, and nowadays I have so many things that I can just immediately bring in, that it doesn't take more time. Even just the idea, because in the beginning, a new idea of figuring out something to do differently takes time. But if you have a lot of ideas already that you have tried out, you can pick much, much quicker from them. So the good news is that with time, it takes much, much, much less time. Yes, in the beginning it's more, but don't overwhelm yourself. Try out one thing which is fun for you, which is okay, which you think you have time for, and slowly build up, yeah.
And one more question, because you already have made those games part of your curriculum, I guess, so the students already get used to those games. So how do you evaluate their performance after the game, before the game and after the game? Do you see a big change or a huge change or small change in their knowledge?
The difficult thing about this is that because I have always been doing like this, it's very difficult to compare for me that if I hadn't done these, how would they do, right? So I don't know how. Is it, thanks to the game or thanks to what, So this, in research, it's always a difficult question how you can, leave out the other variables. So you can't really have this cause and effect, knowing why something works and why not. So I'm not measuring this specifically in any ways. What I can see is that, for example, I use, so whenever I have like a topic or a material, there are these mini point collecting tests, or like mini quizzes, mini things, short questions, and so on and so forth. And then usually at the end, there is an achievement test. So basically what my students gave a feedback to me, that because they know that they can collect a lot of points by the achievement test, they like, making themselves safe, so they have enough points by the time they get to the test, so that it's not that high stakes. And that's why they are stressed less. And even if they make some mistakes, it's not that big of a problem because they already collected points. And the trick from the teacher's point is that they collected the points by practicing the material. So by the time they get there, they pretty well know the material. And I always compared their test results, that if it hadn't been through point collecting, only if I was just giving them as a test, would they get the same result? So I have this, teacher mind that just in case check, and it usually is the case. So for example, in high school, there is a high school leaving Matura examination in Hungary that they do at the end of the high school, the same exam. And that was a very big test for me, that my students got their grades throughout the 4 years of high school only through point collecting. And, that was a test that how well will they do in this standardized exam. And basically, they got exactly the same results that I thought they would get. So there were no big differences between the grades, what they received through the point collecting, and what they got at the end at the standardized exam. So it was in a very nice balance, but it is not easy to keep that balance. So you have to, I think that one of the most difficult in this, if you do these kind of point collecting things, is to figure out what to give points for, how much is something worth, So this always needs a little bit of balancing and try and error, but students can help. So it's very interesting. They feel how much they worked with that, how much effort they put into it, and they give their input that, miss, I think should be worth more points, or it was very easy, it was easy to collect points like this. And then for the next round, I can adjust that. So it's a little bit of work, but it can work very nicely and get good results without the stress, without the pressure, without this, I constantly have to perform on the top feeling.
Do you have some open lesson of yours online, somewhere we can see the whole lesson, how you make it?
I don't have any online. I have presentations online. I have some recorded math lessons. So if you're interested in some math, then I have math lessons recorded. But it's actually, so on the one hand, sometimes the lesson itself is very traditional because nothing special happens, but the fact just that the students collect points with what they are doing is the difference. Okay, so sometimes there is a difference between gamifying the assessment, so like collecting points, getting the grades in this way, and another is gamifying the lesson itself, whether the processes, what happens during the lesson is a playful activity. Sometimes it is not. Sometimes it's only a very traditional way, just they get points for whatever they are doing. Yes?
Back to the point counting methods, who is paying for the pizza?
Well, that's a fair question. I did at that point. It happened only once. So once in a while you can do this. I also baked brownies for one of the groups. It was in 9th grade. So after that, every single year, they asked for the brownies at the end of the year. And I said, okay, once a year I can do that. So at the end of the year, it's okay. But yes, it was me. Yes, this is how much time we had. So thank you very much for your attention.